Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the very first opening episode of the EP Fan Zone, a podcast by, for, and about Elvis fans. My name's Kevin Booth, and I'm here with my daughter,
Abby.
Say hi to everyone, Abby.
Hi, everybody.
I am a longtime Elvis fan, been an Elvis fan since I was 5 years old. I'm 55 now. Abby is 16 years old, and you've been a fan how long now, Abby?
About 5 years.
About 5 years.
This year.
Long timer. 5 years. So my journey started in 1975. I heard Burning Love on the radio that was recorded in 1972 and was a top 10 hit for Elvis. It peaked at number 2. I heard it in 1975 on the radio and just had to know who this guy was. And I was 5 years old and I didn't know a whole lot about life and stuff at that time. I thought the song was about a man that was on fire. And I just liked the song Burning Love. So not long after that, they replayed the Aloha from Hawaii show on TV. And so I got to put a face with the name and with the song. And I instantly was hooked on this man. I thought he was a superhero, and I just fell in love with Elvis. And my parents started buying me records, and of course, in 1977, when I was 7 years old, just a couple years into my journey as an Elvis fan, Elvis passed away. And I knew what death was because my grandfather had passed away at 4 years old, so I understood that Elvis wasn't coming back again, and I started singing about that time. Of course, I wasn't any bands or anything like that. I sang along with records and things like that. And I got a lot of my very first Elvis records by going down to a local record store and singing for my records. They would get me to sing, and when I would sing, they would give me a free record before I left the record store. And that started my journey as an Elvis collector. When I was about 12 years old, I started singing with my friends in school. We put a little band together, and it was called Kevin Booth and the Kings, a little play on Elvis there. And we did an Elvis tribute when I was 12 years old. And when I was 17 years old, I got into a competition down in Memphis in August of 1987, and I finished in the top 10 of Elvis tribute artists in the country back then. And after that, it was just full-blown. I started doing Elvis shows all over the place, and TV and radio and all kinds of stuff. And I was kind of among the founding fathers of Elvis tribute artists, I guess you could say. I was in the first class of Elvis tribute artists, guys that started in the 70s and the early 80s. And we were doing Elvis back before doing Elvis was cool. And now, like my friend Michael Hoover, who's been an Elvis tribute artist since before Elvis died, I can actually say that I've been doing Elvis longer than Elvis did Elvis. So that's kind of my journey in a nutshell. So now that we've talked about me, and before we talk about Elvis and stuff like that, I'm going to talk to Abby a little bit and talk to her about her Elvis journey. But before we do that, Abby, who else do you like? What other musical interests do you like besides Elvis?
My music taste goes so much farther than Elvis. I mean, you've got the Beatles, there's Billie Eilish, big fan. There's so many people. The Beatles, like I said, the Supremes, the Ronettes, Buddy Holly. I like a lot of country music, Luke Combs, a lot of the 90s stuff, and I don't think there's a genre that I don't like, and I don't know. There's too many to even name.
Gotcha. But do you remember the very first time that you really noticed Elvis? The first time that you said, wow, I think I could really get into this guy. Do you remember a specific moment or anything like that?
I don't think I remember a specific moment, but I remember after you came in my room in like mid to early 2021 to tell me about the Elvis movie trailer, or that they were making an Elvis biopic. I looked into him, and I guess I might have looked on Pinterest or something, and I was like, he's good looking. I mean, I was 11. So it was probably something like that. And then, I don't know, from that moment, I was just hooked.
I remember that you said that there was a time, because of social media and things like that, that you really didn't like Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
That there was some, the stuff out there, and so we won't bring all that crap up. We're not going to give it publicity, but because of the stuff that was out there, that you really didn't like Elvis. And then you did your own research, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you looked up, I mean, I was obviously addicted to TikTok, and I guess you could still say I am. I would look up Elvis on there, or I'd look up Elvis just on Safari or something, and all of the articles or all of the TikToks, Elvis is a horrible person, he's a racist, and every other bad thing that they could say about him. It was just that there was like no Elvis fan pages. There was maybe one before I made mine, so everything was negative about Elvis on social media. There wasn't much light to it, to his name.
Now, I remember a phone conversation or a phone call that I'll never forget. I believe it was a phone call, or it might have even been a text message. You were down your mom's. I
know what you're talking about.
I believe she was in North Carolina at the time, and I remember you calling me or texting me. I don't remember where. I think it was a text message.
You posted it on Facebook.
And but you said something along the lines of Elvis movies made you feel better when you were feeling down and out. When you watched an Elvis movie, it made you feel better. That kind of started your Elvis journey, right? Movies?
I was really obsessed with his movies. It was an unhealthy obsession. Like, all I listened to were the soundtracks. Every picture in my room was of movies, and I was watching every single movie that I could watch. I was constantly texting my dad, can you rent this movie? Can you buy this movie? I don't know what it was about the movies. I guess because it brought out like the funny side of Elvis, or I don't know. There was so much to see that I hadn't seen yet, I guess.
The movies, as much criticism as they get, really were, for the most part. I mean, some of them were more dramatic and stuff, but not many. But for the most part, they were feel-good, happy movies that could lift you up even if you were in a bad mood or feeling down and out.
Yeah, every time I was sad or I was sick, because from traveling, I usually get sick. So I'd watch an Elvis movie like Tickle Me or something, and it just... I mean, Tickle Me is one of his funniest movies.
I mean, when you're in a bad mood and Do the Clam comes on, I mean, it's...
Old MacDonald.
Your mood is going to change. So
you can't be sad while watching him sing Old MacDonald on the back of a truck in front of like geese and.
That's right. And I remember back then that it was all about the soundtrack music for you, and you were convinced back then that you were never going to move from that. You probably weren't going to get into the other stuff. And I said, trust me, you will.
Guys, I couldn't get in. I hated. Maybe hate is a strong word, but I didn't like the 70s stuff. I could get into like the 50s stuff, but the 70s, I couldn't get hooked on it. And then I don't remember when, but one random day I started listening to the 70s stuff and I was able to get into it. But it was like I was just listening to the soundtracks.
Now,
like I was regularly, I don't know what, maybe it's just because I was 11, I was regularly putting on Old MacDonald.
My. Now, moving along, you're growing as an Elvis fan. You're getting into Elvis. You're discovering new things about Elvis. What performance, if there was one, made you really stop and think, "Wow, this is different. This is what this did it for me"? Is there a specific performance?
68 comeback, 100%. Probably the whorehouse scene.
The bordello scene.
Well, everybody
That's
else
what you're
calls
supposed
it the
to say.
whorehouse.
The bordello
Nobody,
scene.
Believe me, no Elvis fan calls it that. But that scene is probably not my favorite anymore, but it was my favorite for a long time, and I was obsessed with it. And I was watching it constantly.
I know what
And
scene
then
you're
just
talking about.
the black leather too was a game changer.
And was it the famous "If I Can Dream" ending that really grabbed you, or was it the goofy camaraderie on the stage with the guys during the sit down sessions?
Probably the goofy stuff.
Yeah.
I was more hooked to that than, I mean, obviously If I Can Dream is an iconic song with a lot of meaning behind it, but that didn't really catch me until like the Elvis movie came out. And then I was like, whoa, I need to listen to this song more. And I did. And it became one of my favorites for a while. But yeah.
Now this finally, it probably sounds a little cliche or typical, but when you listen to Elvis, how does it make you feel? Is it different all the time? Is it different things, like comforted, excited, curious, inspired?
A lot of different things. I mean, comforted is definitely one of them. Or I could be listening to the outtakes, which make me laugh, or I'll catch little details in just regular studio songs that make me laugh. I don't know. There's just some things that didn't get cut out, or there's backstories behind the songs or stuff like that. Like, Are You Lonesome Tonight? How apparently he hit his head at the end. That just makes me laugh every time I hear that little boom at the end.
A lot of people don't know about that. So when you listen to Are You Lonesome Tonight, at the very end, turn it way up and you'll hear a little...
I learned that at RCA.
Sounds like a click. It's kind of interesting.
But yeah, Comforted is definitely one of them, especially when I'm listening to gospel music. It usually makes me start sobbing.
So I know it changes for you, and it does for me. I tell people overall that my all-time favorite Elvis song is "Are You Lonesome Tonight," because Elvis was a great storyteller, and in that, when you hear "Are You Lonesome Tonight," you believe it. Just like your guy the other night, Abby has this guy she's watching right now who is listening to Elvis and discovering Elvis for the first time, and when he listened to "Don't Cry Daddy," he said Elvis's voice was so believable. He sold that song to you because he really sounded like a daddy who was broken.
Elvis puts so much emotion into every single syllable of a song. You can just feel it. He makes you feel the emotion of the song no matter what mood you're in, what you're doing. It's insane.
So with all that said, is there a song right now that is your song right now? That's like your Elvis song right now?
I wouldn't say my song as in like I relate to it, because I definitely can't. But I mean, right now, every time I hear this song, which I did, I think on Instagram the other day, Do You Know Who I Am? Something about the emotion in that song. Yeah. 1969 is my all-time favorite era. I love the music, the look. The movies from that year were amazing. Well, The Trouble with Girls was questioning, but Charo and Change of Habit, great movies.
I think The Trouble with Girls didn't really need to be good.
No.
Because he looked so good in it. And that's what they counted on. Their script is pretty bad, but you know what? Elvis looks great. So,
and then You'll Think of Me was a favorite for months. I think it's the raspiness in his voice that I loved, which was also emotion, and plus he was just getting over laryngitis. And Where Did They Go, Lord? Oh my God.
Big one.
Love that song.
So let's do a little bit of a different stream of questioning here. You're 16 years old. Why do you think Elvis still matters to somebody that's your age? How is this guy who was dead years, decades before you were born, why does he still matter to you? Or how is it that he still reaches across and gets to a 16-year-old?
I mean, Elvis is just obviously a legend, an icon. He paved the way for so many people, thousands of artists that are big today who wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Elvis. I mean, we wouldn't have people like the Beatles or people today, like Harry Styles was inspired by Elvis, and there's so many people. And I think that, I mean, there's music for everybody. I mean, Elvis, he recorded just about every genre, from country to gospel to rhythm and blues to just silly songs, and it doesn't end. There's like, what, 800 songs that he recorded that there is to listen to?
Something along those lines, yeah. So that leads to this question. Do you think Elvis would be popular if he didn't come out in 1956 and he came out today?
Yes, 100%. I think his looks would catch a lot of people first before his voice did, which happens a lot. I mean, Elliot James, he's inspired by Elvis, and I feel like his looks got people before his voice did, and now he's playing stadiums with people like Benson Boone, and he's singing the same kind of music that Elvis sang. So I think he could have been popular if he came out today.
I remember Garth Brooks saying that when his kids were young, obviously they're all grown in college and married and stuff now, but Garth Brooks years ago said that he could be driving down the road and one of his songs would come on and his kids had zero reaction to Garth's songs. But if Jailhouse Rock came on, they would start jumping around in the car and singing and couldn't hold back. And he said it was then that he realized that this guy's timeless, that he reaches
100%.
across generations, and he realized that about him. So something I get all the time as a performer, because I sing and perform all over the place, and Abby's grown up in that environment all her life. But something, when people find out that my daughter is a huge Elvis fan, the first thing they think is I pushed it on her, and that's the reason that she became an Elvis fan. So I want to go on this public forum, our podcast, to get the truth. Abby, did I push Elvis on you?
Never. I would literally come to him complaining about how I didn't like Elvis when I was in that, and he never pushed it on me. He told me it wasn't true, but he didn't ever push it. I found that I loved him by myself.
Absolutely.
I mean, I grew up on him, so I was constantly listening to him growing up. So I always liked him. I always liked his music. But then in 2021, once I was able to really put a face to the name with like videos and stuff, is when I really got hooked.
Okay. Well, last year. When did we go to Graceland?
In 2024.
2024.
So almost 2 years ago.
Almost 2 years ago. It'll be 2 years in August. So you got to go to Graceland for the very first time, and talk about that a little bit. What was that like? Standing at the gates the first time, looking up the driveway the first time, walking through the front door, and all that kind of stuff. What was that experience like?
It felt like a fever dream. I mean, standing at the gates, even though they were closed, and looking up at the house, like I couldn't believe where I was, and I couldn't fathom the fact that the next day I was going to be inside of his house. And then standing at the front door inside of the house, it was so, I don't even think I have a word for the feeling, but it's just like, it felt like Elvis was gonna walk down the steps at any moment and just welcome you into his home. And especially since we had the whole house to ourselves until the Jungle Room, where we bumped into like 2 people maybe. It was insane, and we got to listen to some of the Jungle Room sessions while standing in the Jungle Room, and there's no words to describe the feeling.
I remember a moment that was one of my favorite moments. It was just me and you, and we walked from the hotel to the gates, and you were standing there at the gates, and I hurried up and got on my phone, and I found that picture of Elvis standing in that same spot and showed it to you while you were standing there. And I'll never forget the look on your face. What did that feel like when you saw that picture of Elvis standing and holding the same exact part of the gates that you were holding?
Again, surreal. I mean, it, I don't. It's so hard to explain moments like that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. There's no words for it. It's just crazy.
All right.
Like the same. Like we were walking to the gates, and he was like, "Oh, I bumped into Kathy Westmoreland right here in 1980, whatever." I'm like, "Okay, that's so random."
Very neat. So, one more question about that. Of course, everybody wants to know this, especially people that have never been there before. But what's it like when you stand at that grave the very first time?
It's. I just wanted to cry, but I couldn't. And again, felt like a fever dream. All you can do is just stand there and stare. And you're like, all I could think of is Elvis is right there. He's obviously not alive, but I'm standing in front of Elvis Presley right now. What is my life?
All right. Well, here's a question we talked about earlier. We were preparing, and this is one that I hope you can get into. And your generation is into a lot of different stuff right now, and there's a lot of teenagers out there like that have heard all the garbage and stuff like that, and they've listened to social media and all that garbage. So if you could say one thing to other teenagers about Elvis, what would it be?
Do not listen to social media. Do not. Just do your own research. And I don't mean from random websites. Don't look up, oh, was Elvis a bad person? Like, you've got to find Elvis. There's so many Elvis fan pages on TikTok and Instagram now. I mean, when I joined, it was me and one other person. That's all. And now there are thousands upon thousands. There's so many accounts that are primarily just for defending Elvis that you can find. And they will give you information upon information. I will do it. I have so many videos on TikTok that are just about the rumors about him being racist, me debunking that, and the whole Priscilla thing. I debunked that. There's so much out there. Don't look at news articles. Don't look at videos that start with, Elvis was a bad person. No, he wasn't. Listen to the fan pages. That's all I can say. Listen to the people who actually knew him. There's a lot of people who knew him that are surprisingly on like Instagram, like his ex-girlfriends, or Anne Margaret's posted about him. There's so many people still.
And there's plenty of resources out there to find out the stories that you never hear, because Elvis did so much for so many people, but he did it under the radar because Elvis never wanted to give gifts or charity or do good deeds for people. He never wanted the media to know about it. He did everything he did under the radar because he didn't do it for publicity. He did it because he was a wonderful person. And he had flaws, just like all of us. All of us are imperfect. Elvis actually obviously had flaws, just like all of us do. But at his heart, he was a wonderful guy who would give the shirt off of his back to anybody who asked for it. And you can find those stories out there. So I second what Abby said. Don't listen to the hype. Don't listen to the negatives out there. There's so much you can learn about him, how much he did for the world, how much he did for charity.
Somebody who posts about what he did for other people a lot is his stepbrother, David Stanley. Just about every day he's posting different posts about Elvis did this for... Is it Billy?
Billy Stanley.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoops. Billy, sorry.
Yeah, Billy.
Billy posts every day about Elvis's generosity. And there's documentaries like The Generous Heart. Is that what it's called?
Elvis, A Generous Heart.
The Generous Heart. And
you can find that on YouTube, I believe, as a matter of fact.
The Searcher is a great one.
Ooh.
Other than the fact that Priscilla's in it. But we won't talk about that. That's a great one. Love that.
Yeah, actually, if you want to see, for a starter out there who doesn't know anything about Elvis, start with that. find The Searcher. That documentary is absolutely fantastic. It's really, really good. So let's talk about the podcast a little bit. What are your hopes for this podcast? What do you want this to be?
That it reaches the younger generation and that they won't be embarrassed to talk about their love for Elvis, because that sounds stupid, but I feel like a lot of people don't talk about music they listen to because of cancel culture and stuff like that. You get judged for stuff like that. I mean, I do every single day, and I just have to. I fight back. You don't have to, but don't be embarrassed to share your love for Elvis.
So this podcast is for you all out there, the Elvis fan. That's why our tagline is a podcast by, for, and about Elvis fans. We want to do something different. So what we're going to do, it won't be in this episode. This is just our introduction to let you all know where we're at and what we're doing. We're going to do a weekly episode. We'll do one episode every week. We're going to have a segment called This Week in Elvis History, where we'll talk about some things that happened in and around the time of our podcast, the date of our podcast. So it'll be This Week in Elvis History. We'll talk about a song of the day, where we'll pick a song of the day and we'll talk about it, play a little tiny clip of it, because we don't want to get caught for copyrights and stuff. So we'll play just a little tiny clip of a song and just talk about those kind of things. If there's a current Elvis event that's going on, like, of course, Epic is coming up. We'll be talking about that and building that up, and maybe even we could play the trailer, even though it's a visual, it's kind of audio too. And there's different trailers coming out from what I understand. So that's what it's going to be all about. It's going to be about Elvis, but it's also going to be a platform for you, the Elvis fan. We're going to interview fans from Abby's generation, interview fans from my generation, and because something else, Abby, we can talk about real quick, and what I want for this podcast is to bridge the gap between those generations, because recently there has been major tension between the younger generation and the older generation because of a couple people.
It's all the time.
Yeah, so we won't name names and get into all of that, but there's been a lot of tension between the younger generation of Elvis fans.
Way too much drama.
And we need
that I got involved in.
And Elvis wouldn't want that, and we want what Elvis would want, and we know that he would want all of his fans to come together, because that's why we're all here. We all love Elvis. That's what we have in common. That's what's most important, is Elvis. And so we want this podcast to bridge that gap between older Elvis fans and younger Elvis fans, and bring us all together as one big happy family. So that is the object of the EP. Fan Zone. There's a lot of exciting times coming up for Elvis fans, and we're going to be getting into that as it gets closer. Matter of fact, Abby showed me earlier that there's going to be pre-screenings, and I don't know if you realize that has exploded now. There's all kinds of people from all different places posting that their towns are showing Epic on February the 18th.
I don't know why it hasn't been announced that there's early screenings other than the 20th.
White Marsh has been added. Dan just texted me. I got to read the text. Dan Hawthorne, our buddy from Blue Suede Connection. It just texted me about getting together for the 18th. So we'll have more information about that early viewing, as this just broke tonight as we speak, that there's going to be an early viewing day for Epic, Elvis Presley in Concert, the next Elvis concert documentary that's coming out. So we just broke tonight. So we have breaking news that not going to be the 21st. That's the official launch night.
The 20th.
The 20th, I'm sorry. That's the official launch night. But now, just like it was for Elvis the movie, going to be early viewings. So we'll look forward to that. So that's going to wrap it up tonight.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
What are you most excited to see from Epic?
Well, for years, I mean, I love That's the Way It Is. I really do. It's a great documentary, but so much has been seen already from That's the Way It Is, all kinds of undiscovered footage and all of that kind of stuff. But very little footage has been seen from Elvis on tour. And there's a big, huge fan base that's been waiting for 50 years plus now for this new footage from Elvis on tour. So I'm hoping to see something super exciting from those spring 72 tours that we haven't seen. Of course, I'm already a little disappointed because we know it's not going to be Richmond because they haven't been able to find that film footage. Apparently, it's in private hands, so I'm a little upset about that. But I'm hoping we see some more stuff from Hampton Roads, from Greensboro. So that's what I'm excited about, the Elvis on tour stuff. I'm hoping so far. I mean, all the trailer has shown is the stuff from That's the Way It Is. So I'm hoping that we'll get to see 72 because that's what I've been waiting for.
I'm most excited to see like the behind the scenes and the rehearsal stuff. That's always been my favorite stuff to see of Elvis because it shows Elvis the person and not Elvis the performer or Elvis the rock and roll king of rock and roll. I like to see Elvis the person, the jokes he made during rehearsals and just him being stupid.
I do enjoy that stuff too. The other thing I'm looking forward to is the narration, how they string that together. And
I really hope there's new audio of that we haven't heard,
we
haven't heard from Elvis on tour.
That's what I'm hoping too. So I'm looking forward to hearing how that is put together and how that happens because Elvis is going to be the narrator this time, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they pull that off. And Baz has his ways of doing things, so I'm looking forward to and to the sound because so many times we've been to reissues of That's the Way It Is in the theaters and reissues of Elvis on 68, and we're always talking about how great the sound's going to be, and every time it's a bitter disappointment. But I heard that this time Baz has really jazzed up the audio, and I really can't wait to hear it, especially in IMAX.
Oh yeah.
So it's going to be epic. So I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it.
We'll definitely be seeing it as much as we saw the Elvis movie 6 times in theaters. So I'm sure we'll be seeing this even more.
I'm sure we will. I can't wait. It's going to be all the talk and all the rage over the next month or so.
I'm so excited to see how many new fans come from this movie, and hopefully I can make some more friends.
Absolutely. And youngsters out there, go see it.
Please.
This is going to show what Elvis was really, really like. This is the real deal. It's not Austin Butler.
I know it's not Austin Butler, but please, I beg, trust me.
I love Austin. I really do.
I will forever thank him.
But nobody touches the real deal. So come on out and see Epic. I think it's going to show you a side of Elvis that you've never seen before, and Elvis the entertainer, the electrifying entertainer that he was. So I can't wait for that. So we're going to wrap this episode up with that. This is just an introductory episode just to let you know what we're all about and what we're going to be like. And so this will get much better over the next few weeks. I intended to use a different kind of software tonight, but we're unable to do that. But I'll be able to do it by the time we get together again. So we'll be able to do a much better, more firmer podcast. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for listening. Once this is posted and uploaded, please share this for us. So, Abby, any last words before we sign off?
I don't think so.
All right. So thanks a lot for tuning in to the EP Fan Zone, a podcast by, for, and about Elvis fans. We'll see you next time. Y'all have a great one.
Bye.
Well, wait a minute. We can't quite say bye yet, can we, Abby?
No, we cannot. Tomorrow is Elvis's 91st. Well, when this comes out, today is Elvis's 91st birthday.
That's right. Elvis would be.
I had to remind him.
He did. We signed off, and Abby said, we didn't talk about Elvis's birthday. And that was one of the whole points. So happy birthday, Elvis. Elvis was born January 8th, 1935. 91 years ago, what will be today when you all are listening to this. So happy birthday, Elvis.
Happy birthday, Elvis. We miss you.
We sure do. And there was a big loss in the Elvis world today. And we want to dedicate this podcast to 2 people. that we lost this week that were both Elvis fans. And first, Melinda Hughes. She was a longtime friend of mine, and she became like an adopted grandmother to Abby. And she was a huge, huge Elvis fan, and she gifted Abby a lot of different Elvis stuff over the years.
Yeah, a lot of Elvis books and just random stuff out of her collection for birthdays and holidays and stuff like that.
So she was like an adopted grandma to Elvis, and she passed away after a long battle with cancer a couple of days ago. So we want to dedicate this to her. And also in the Elvis world today, if you're an Elvis radio listener and fan, Big Jim Sykes passed away suddenly today. He was a Elvis DJ. I like to call him EJs on Elvis radio. He's been there since day one, since Elvis radio came on the air. And he was just a tremendous guy, just a wonderful talent. And
yeah. He's always been on my top list of people I want to meet when I go to Graceland again, and it really sucks that I won't be able to meet him.
It is. The thing I loved about Jim is obviously he's been doing this just about 7 days a week. I mean, he was on Elvis radio just about every day, and did some long shows and stuff. But Jim always sounded like it was the very first time he was on Elvis radio. He always sounded excited, enthusiastic, and just you could tell that his love for Elvis just gleamed through the radio waves. And he is going to be, you talk about somebody being irreplaceable.
Elvis radio won't be the same without him.
It will never be the same without him. I love Argo. I mean, Argo's amazing.
Yeah, Rob Walker.
Rob Walker's incredible. But Big Jim was probably the heart and soul of Elvis radio, and he was on the George Klein show for years, and him and George had that show together, and he was just he's going to be dearly missed. So we send our thoughts and prayers out to Jim's family, as well as Melinda's family, and so we dedicate this very first podcast to both of them. And so we wanted to say those couple of things that we realized we forgot to talk about.
Yeah.
So we just kind of came back on real quick. Like we said, this is kind of an unorganized version of the podcast, but it's the very first one. And we just wanted to wrap up those couple of things, talking about Elvis's birthday. And we wanted to debut this for that very reason. We wanted to wait and debut this podcast on Elvis's birthday. So that's that. I think we can wrap it up now.
I think so.
I think we covered it now. So happy birthday, Elvis. And thanks a lot for listening to us. And please share this and help us get it out there. We're going to try to build an audience. Like I said, we'll be on once a week with a new show. And I don't know if it'll be the next show. We'll have guests, or maybe the show after that. We'll see. We got to get people lined up.
After that.
Probably the show after that. We'll probably
find some stuff to talk about next week. And
yeah. So it'll be a lot better organized and sound better and stuff as we go along. But we just wanted to get this out there for Elvis's birthday. So have a great Elvis Festivus, as we like to call it. We keep our Christmas tree up here till Elvis's birthday, so we'll be taking the Christmas tree down the following day. So hey, we'll see you all next week. I guess we'll probably do this on Thursdays. I guess we'll debut every Thursday. We'll release a new episode. So thanks a lot, y'all, for hanging out with us on the very first episode of the EP Fan Zone podcast, the podcast by, for, and about Elvis fans. We'll see you next time.
Bye.